We tend to think of evolution as this relentless march forward, right? The old gets replaced by the new and improved. But what if that's not the whole story? Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're looking at the exceptions, the survivors, the animals that, by all logic, really shouldn't be here. I mean, really think about that for a second. What if there are creatures walking, swimming, and crawling around right now that belong to a world that vanished millions of years ago? These aren't just old species. They're living fossils that basically look at our rules for extinction and just laugh. Scientists actually call them evolutionary paradoxes. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Their very existence is a giant puzzle. They've survived mass extinctions, they've outlasted competitors that were supposedly faster or smarter, and they've held on through just sheer improbable luck. So how'd they do it? Let's get into the incredible strategies these animals use to basically cheat death. So the first strategy is maybe the most straightforward. If the world gets too dangerous, you find a place to hide. But listen, we're not talking about hiding for an afternoon. We are talking about hiding for millions and millions of years. This is what's known as an ecological refuge. You can think of it like a time capsule. It's some isolated pocket of the world, like a deep sea trench or a remote island, where the normal rules just don't apply. There's not a lot of competition, the environment is super stable, and for the lucky species living there, the evolutionary clock pretty much just stops. And this brings us to our first group of survivors, the recluses. You've got the coelacanth, a fish everyone thought died out with the dinosaurs. The nautilus, an ancient cephalopod that was kind of left in the dust by its cleverer cousins, the octopuses and squid. And then there's the teuthera, a reptile that is literally the last of its kind, a lonely little branch on the tree of life straight out of the age of dinosaurs. To really get a sense of the scale here, let's just focus on the coelacanth. Its family tree goes back 400 million years. Let that sink in. That is before the dinosaurs, before the first trees. It's older than pretty much any other animal with a backbone on the planet. For decades, the only way we knew about them was from fossils. So how is it still here? Well, it all comes down to that refuge. The coelacanth just went deep. It retreated to these deep volcanic coastlines, into cold, low-oxygen water where very few other fish can survive. It found a place where the world hadn't changed, and so it didn't have to change either. It survived not by adapting, but by hiding where adaptation just wasn't necessary. But hiding isn't the only way to get through an apocalypse. I mean, what if, instead of running from disaster, you just evolved to be tough enough to walk right through it? Well, that brings us to our second strategy, extreme resilience. This is what's called physiological resilience. It's not about finding a safe place. It's about turning your own body into a fortress. These are organisms that can put up with conditions that would annihilate almost anything else on Earth. So let's meet the indestructibles. First, the horseshoe crab, which honestly looks like it walked straight out of a prehistoric sea. It survived the extinction event that killed 90% of all marine life. Then you have the crocodilians, who basically watched the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs hit and just kept going. And then there's the tardigrade, an animal so resilient it almost defies belief. The tardigrade's abilities are just nuts. This soft-bodied, microscopic animal, also known as a water bear, can be frozen, boiled, zapped with radiation, and totally dried out for decades, only to reanimate and just carry on. It can even survive the vacuum of outer space. No, really. How is that even possible? Well, it has a biological superpower called cryptobiosis. It's a state of suspended animation where the tardigrade shuts its metabolism down to almost nothing. It creates these special proteins that protect its DNA and uses sugars that turn its cells into a glass-like solid. It's effectively pausing life until things are safe again. It's not just tough. This thing has redefined the very limits of what it means to be alive. So we've seen hiding, and we've seen just being tough as nails. But there's a third path to survival, and it might just be the strangest of all. Become so uniquely weird that nothing else can even compete with you. This is niche specialization. It's about evolving a set of bizarre, super specific traits that let you do one thing incredibly well. In the game of evolution, sometimes the best move is to just stop playing the same game as everyone else and invent your own. And that brings us to the eccentrics. You've got the gerenuk, an antelope from East Africa that stands up on his hind legs like a person just to eat leaves no other animal its size can reach. And then there's the platypus.
An animal so strange that when the first specimens were sent to Europe, scientists literally thought it was a prank. Let's just take a moment here to appreciate just how profoundly weird the platypus is, okay? It's a mammal, but it lays eggs. It hunts with its eyes closed, using its bill to sense the tiny electric fields from its prey. The males have a venomous spur, and the females feed their babies milk that they basically just secrete through pores in their skin. It's a living mosaic of reptile and mammal parts. But here's the thing. This bizarre collection of features isn't a mistake. It's a masterpiece of specialization. Every single one of those strange traits makes the platypus perfectly suited for its world of Australian freshwater streams. It created a job for itself that no other mammal could possibly fill. So after looking at these recluses, these indestructibles, and these eccentrics, what's the takeaway? What are the common threads that tie all these incredible stories of survival together? Well, it really boils down to 3 core strategies. First, find a refuge. Just get out of the evolutionary arms race completely. Second, be resilient. Become so tough that nothing can kill you. And third, specialize. Evolve to do something so unique you have no competition. Become too weird to fail. But here's the final and really critical lesson. After surviving for hundreds of millions of years, these absolute masters of survival are now facing their greatest threat ever: us. Climate change is warming up those deep-sea refuges. Overfishing and poaching are decimating these slow-breeding animals, and habitat loss is wiping out the very specialized places they depend on. Their ancient strategies, they might not be enough to get them through the modern world. In the end, what these animals really teach us is that evolution isn't some neat ladder climbing towards perfection. It's a messy, unpredictable, incredible story of survival against all odds. There are no winners. There are only those who are still here. And as we continue to change the planet, the question becomes, who gets to survive next?